This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Rabbi Glatstein, Parshas Vayeitzey. Parshas Vayeitzey enjoys a feature that almost no other Parsha enjoys. I say almost no other Parsha. And that is, if you open up the Sefer Torah in Parshas Vayeitzey, there are no Peis and there are no Samachs. It starts and it ends and it goes continuous. There are no pauses in Parshas Vayeitzey. In every Parsha in the Torah, in nearly every Parsha in the Torah, Bruchim Abam. In every Parsha in the Torah, we have what is called Psuchos and Stumos. We have Peis and Samachs. We have openings. We have spaces in the Torah. And in Parshas Vayeitzey, there are no spaces in the Torah. There are no openings in the Torah. It's very interesting. The Baal Turim points out, Yesh Oimrim, take a look at number 1, Sheparsha zu sesuma. There are those who say this Parsha is open. Excuse me, it's closed. It's sealed. V'hatam, what's the reason? So you got it? You understand the feature of Parshas Vayeitzey. If you open up a Sefer Torah, normally, throughout the course of the Parsha, you have spaces. Sometimes you have 4-letter spaces. Sometimes the next inyan begins on the next line. But in every Parsha in the Torah, you have openings. You have openings. And in Parshas Vayeitzey, there are no openings. Why not? Says the Baal Turim, Lefi sheyatza b'seiser, because Yaakov Avinu went in hiding, ubarach v'hechavei, and he fled in concealment. That means like this. Why are there no openings in Parshas Vayeitzey? Because Yaakov was hidden. He was concealed. He ran away. Who did he run away from? He ran away from Esav. So since he ran away from Esav and he was hiding and he was concealed, so the Parsha is hidden, the Parsha is concealed. Right? The Balei Tosis bring down the same thing. The Dasakenim and Balei Tosis bring down that why is this Parsha Sasum? Because Yaakov Avinu went into hiding. He went in secret, in solitude. He went in secrecy. The Or Gedalia, Rav Gedalia Shor, explains a little bit further that why are there no openings in Parshas Vayeitzey? Because this is the Parsha of Golus. It's the Parsha of exile. Yaakov Avinu is leaving Eretz Yisrael. He's leaving the house of his father. He's leaving the Kedusha of the Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever, the Kedusha of the house of Yitzchak. He's going into exile. And when you're in exile, your mind is ausgestuft. Right? Your mind is stuffed up. Your mind is clogged. You can't see, you can't think, you can't see in front, you don't know what's going on. You can't comprehend. The light of Hashem is hidden. You don't understand the events that are unfolding. And therefore, since Parshas Vayeitzey is the Parsha of Golus, it's sealed up. It's closed up. It's hidden. There are no openings. There's no room to breathe. There's no room to breathe. Rabbi Glatstein, today, B'schus HaRabim, we're going to offer another explanation for why there are no openings in Parshas Vayeitzey. Another very interesting feature, in the beginning of the Parsha, Yaakov Avinu comes to the Har HaBayis, and the Pasuk says, Vayishkav v'makom ahu, he slept in that place. Yeah? He slept in that place. So Rashi's bothered. What do you mean he slept in that place? Wherever you are, that's where you are. If you're learning, you're in that place. If you're sleeping, you're in that place. If you're learning and sleeping at the same time, you're also in that place, right? Whatever you're doing, you're in that place. So why does the Torah have to say, Vayishkav v'makom ahu, that Yaakov Avinu slept in that place? So everybody is familiar that it's a Lashon Miyut. The Torah is excluding. He slept in that place. But the 14 years that Yaakov Avinu was in the Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever, right? We're all familiar. That Yaakov Avinu, before he went to Lavan, he was 63. And then he gets to Lavan, he's 77. How did he age 14 years just like that? Yaakov Avinu spent 14 years in the Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever. Says Rashi, those 14 years, Yaakov Avinu did not go to sleep at night. Now it doesn't mean he didn't fall asleep. An Adam, the Gemara says a human being can't go without sleep. Certainly Yaakov fell asleep. But he never actively went to lie down in a bed. He was such a masmid. Yaakov Avinu was the paragon of Torah. He was the semel of Torah. He symbolized Torah. Yaakov Avinu did not sleep at night. Did not sleep at night. He was learning Torah. So a very simple question for you. Is it a secret that Yaakov was learning? No. So why can't the Chumash write openly? By the way, Klal Yisrael, you know what Yaakov Avinu was doing for 14 years? He learned for 14 years. Torah does not say one word that Yaakov Avinu learned. Nowhere in the entire Chumash does it say that Yaakov Avinu was learning. What does it say? He slept in that place. From there we derive, what did he do for the last 14 years? He was learning. Wouldn't you think? I mean, give the guy a break. Give him a compliment. Throw him a bone. Say, Yaakov, you're really good. You're really great, Yaakov. You're Bechir Shava'alis. You learned for 14 years straight. No. The Torah does not say Yaakov Avinu learned. We have to figure it out on our own. What's the big secret? Well, there's something wrong with the yeshiva he went to. Like, what are we afraid of? And this is not just in this week's Parsha. Keseder. Over and over and over again, the Torah, it's like it's jumping around. It's doing everything but say Yaakov learned for 14 years. It's like the Torah's afraid to say he was learning for 14 years. You look at number 5. Rashi at the end of Chayei. It says, this is how old Yishmael was when Yishmael died. So Rashi asks, who cares how old Yishmael was? I need to know. What the Torah is the Guinness Book of World Records? Well, what difference does it make how old Yishmael was when he died? Says Rashi, from the lifetime of Yishmael, we can infer that Yaakov Avinu spent 14 years learning in the Yeshiva Shem Be'ever. That's how the Torah chooses to say that Yaakov learned for 14 years from the lifetime of Yishmael? Just say, you want to say Yaakov learned 14 years? Have a whole Parsha. Yaakov Avinu learned for 14 years. The first 7 years he learned Nashim. The second 7 years he learned Nezikin. Maybe he learned some Moed on the side. No. You know how we know Yaakov learned 14 years? From the lifetime of Yishmael. Then again, at the end of Toldos, Rashi says the same thing. You make a cheshbon, you make a calculation of the years. We're missing 14 years. We could figure out from there that Yaakov spent 14 years learning in the Yeshiva Shem Be'ever. So, Rabbi, if you heard Monday's Shiur, we had a whole Shiur explaining why the Torah omits that Yaakov Avinu learned for 14 years. Today we're going to say something totally different, something completely different. One of the very interesting Rishonim on Chumash, it's quoted by the Marsha, was the Paneach Raza. Paneach Raza was written by Rabbeinu Yitzchak. Why did Rabbeinu Yitzchak call the Sefer Paneach Raza? Yitzchak has the Gematria 208. Paneach is Gematria 208. Raza is the Gematria 208. If you have the Sefer Shem Hagdama of the Chida, take a look at his entry on the word Shem of Paneach Raza, and you'll see something very interesting. Okay. Yaakov Avinu wakes up in the morning after he spent the night at the Har HaBayis, and he says, wow, Manoira HaMakom Hazeh, what an awesome place. So what does he do? He erects the matzeva, and he pours oil on the matzeva. Ask the Paneach Raza, Yaakov Avinu, at this point in time, was he a wealthy man or was he a poor man? Well, we know when he left his father's house, he left very wealthy. His father gave him all of his possessions. But then, his nephew Eliphaz came running after him, right? And this is everybody's favorite story. Eliphaz says, after you Mekayim in the midst of Kibbut Avayim, my father told me to kill you. So Yaakov Avinu wants him to chaperein a mitzvah. He says, you know what? Let's do it this way. You take away all my money, and ani chashiv kameis, and this way it's as if you killed me. Why didn't Yaakov say, what do you mean? If your father tells you to do an Aveira, you don't have to be Mekayim his command. No. Yaakov Avinu wanted, at least Eliphaz should get some mitzvah of Kibbut Avayim. So Eliphaz took away every possession of Yaakov Avinu. He took away his phone, imagine, his iPad, Chas v'sham, right? Yaakov Avinu didn't have that. He took away everything. So Yaakov Avinu, all he has is his clothing. So where did he get oil from? How did Yaakov Avinu have oil? That's the kasha of the Paneach Raza. Answers Paneach Raza, there was one item that Yaakov Avinu always had. What was the item that Yaakov Avinu always had? He always had his stick, his makel, his staff. Like the pasuk says, Ki b'makli avarti es hayarden hazeh. Shkoyach, what's the staff going to do? Where's the oil? Says Paneach Raza, you know what kind of stick it was? It was the screw-off stick. It was the stick that has the screw-off cap. You get an amazing savings. No, listen. It was a special stick. It was a stick that had a screw-off cap. And you know what was inside the stick? Of course. What else do you put in the screw-off cap stick? Oil. Ask the Paneach Raza, why in the world would Yaakov keep a stick with oil in it? Because how's Yaakov Avinu going to learn at night? What's the most important thing a Yid needs? He needs light to be able to learn at night. During the day, you could see. But how's Yaakov going to learn at night? He just spent 14 years. The man doesn't sleep. So what? Maybe he'll sleep for a half hour after the 14 years. But he needs oil to be able to learn at night. So the one item that Yaakov Avinu had was his oil. So what we're learning is, Yaakov Avinu was very attached to Limud HaTorah. To Limud HaTorah. He spends 14 years in the yeshiva Shem Ha'ever. He learns during the day. He learns at night. He never stops. He leaves the yeshiva. The first day he leaves the yeshiva, what does he have with him? A stick with oil to be able to learn Torah at night. Let's keep that in mind. You come to the end of the Parsha. And Yaakov Avinu is finished with Lavan. He's finished making the deal with Lavan. Says the pasuk at the end of this week's Parsha, Vayifka'u boi malachei Elokim. The angels meet Yaakov Avinu. Yeah? Got it? The malachim meet Yaakov Avinu. Who are these malachim? Says Rashi, look carefully. This is a Peladic Rashi. This is a mind-boggling Rashi. You know who these malachim are? Malachim shel Eretz Yisrael ba'u lekrasai lelavoisai la'aretz. You know who's these malachim are? These are Eretz Yisrael dika malachim. These are malachim from Eretz Yisrael. After all, Yaakov Avinu is coming from Chutz La'aretz, from the exile. He's coming back to Eretz Yisrael. So the malachim of Eretz Yisrael come to greet Yaakov Avinu. That's Rashi, right? We're all familiar with that. That as Yaakov is leaving Chutz La'aretz and entering Eretz Yisrael, there are different kinds of malachim here. You know, in Chutz La'aretz, you have different kinds of malachim than in Eretz Yisrael. In Chutz La'aretz, they look different. They wear different clothing. They say different. I don't know. I don't usually see malachim, or ever. But they're different. Malachim of Chutz La'aretz are different than malachim in Eretz Yisrael. Says Rashi, the malachim of Chutz La'aretz are leaving Yaakov Avinu. The malachim of Eretz Yisrael are coming, what? To greet Yaakov Avinu. Ask Ramban. 1 second here. What's Rashi talking about? Does anybody know where Yaakov Avinu is at this point? You know where Yaakov is? He just left Lavan. Lavan is in Aram Naharayim. Fine. Yaakov Avinu is not going to come to Eretz Yisrael until next week's Parsha. After Yaakov Avinu meets Esav, he crosses which river? Mavar Yaboik. Anybody know where Mavar Yaboik is? Mavar Yaboik is in the border of Ammon. And after he goes through Ammon, which is in the southeast of Eretz Yisrael, he has to go through the entire land of Ammon, the entire land of Moav. So Yaakov Avinu has a few months until he gets to Eretz Yisrael. That's like saying, I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. You know why? Because I was driving from New Jersey, and I came over the Verrazano to New York. Malachim of Eretz Yisrael are coming, because I'm on my way to JFK. I mean, you got to be in the country first. Why are the Malachim of Eretz Yisrael coming to Yaakov Avinu? He's nowhere near Eretz Yisrael. He left Lavan. Shkoyach, he left Lavan. He has to go cross Mavar Yaboik. He has to cross the land of Ammon. He has to cross the land of Moav. He's nowhere near Eretz Yisrael. Why are Malachim of Eretz Yisrael coming? You ever think of that question? Honestly. Shkoyach. Why are Malachim of Eretz Yisrael coming to greet Yaakov Avinu? Says the Gur Aryeh. Says the Maral. A very important thing. Do you know where you are? Right? You know, it's 9 o'clock. You know where your kids are. Do you know where you are? Do you know where you are? So you go around the room. Not this room. Go a typical room. During Shemona Esrei. Where are the people? You say they're in the room. I don't think so. One guy, he's in his bed already. You know, his mind, he's already asleep. The other guy, he's in tomorrow morning's breakfast. The other guy is in next Wednesday's shiur. The other guy, you can have 10 people, they're davening, but they're in 10 different places. You know why? Says the Maral, you are not where you are where you want to be. You are not where you are. In physics, there's a scientific term for this. Vector and scalar. Vector is location, scalar is direction. Says Maral, in Halacha, in the eyes of the Rebbeinu Shalom, in Judaism, it's not a matter of location, it's a matter of direction. Which means like this, the Alter of Slobodka had two Talmidim. And there was one Talmud who was one of the best Talmidim in the yeshiva. The Alter would never give him an aliyah. And there was another kid who was mamish a shvacha bacher. And the Alter used to give this bacher shlishi, shishi. And the bacher, who's considered one of the best Talmidim in the yeshiva, came to Alter. He said, "Eina lefi kvoidi that you give this bacher a more chashuv aliyah than me." Says the Alter, "Yeah, you're the best bacher in the yeshiva. But your attitude is, I've made it already. If you think you've made it, you're a nothing. But this bacher, who's a weak student, who's a shvacha bacher, yes, he's weak, but he's growing. He wants to be better. He desires to be better. You desire to be better. In the eyes of Hashem, you're already better." Judaism is not a matter of location, it's a matter of direction. It's not a matter of who you are, it's a matter of who you would like to be. What are you striving for? Yaakov Avinu is hundreds of miles away from Eretz Yisrael. But Yaakov Avinu, Libi b'Mizrach, his desire was to be in Eretz Yisrael. His tshuka was to be in Eretz Yisrael. He says to Lavan, Ki nichseif nechsafti lebeis avi. I'm yearning, I'm desiring to be there. So if I'm desiring to be there, in the eyes of the Rebbeinu, he's there. He never left. Doesn't matter how far away he is. Right at this juncture in time, the Malachim of Eretz Yisrael are coming out to greet him. Why? Because in the eyes of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Yaakov Avinu wants to be in Eretz Yisrael. He wants to be back in the yeshiva Shema Ever. He wants to be back in the house of Yitzchak. He's there. He's there. Now, Rabbi, so listen to the following. We're going to read one of the most famous Rashis in Chumash with a new twist. Says Rashi, let's talk about the ladder of Yaakov Avinu. The ladder that Yaakov Avinu saw, the legs of the ladder were where? In the south, Beersheba. The midpoint of the ladder was where? Har HaBayis, Yerushalayim. The top of the ladder was the north, Beis, Luz. So Rashi is bothered. Rashi wants to know that Chazal say that Yaakov Avinu called Yerushalayim Beis. What? Yerushalayim and Beis are two different places. Why would he call Yerushalayim Beis? Beis is in the north, Yerushalayim is in the center of Eretz Yisrael. Says Rashi, let's explain what happened. Yaakov Avinu is traveling from the south to the north. He starts off in Beersheba. He's headed north. He passes the Makom HaMikdash. He's going north. He's headed to Beis. And when he gets to Haran, Yaakov Avinu says the following. Let's read the words inside. Unfortunately, the sheets are a little bit mixed up. So, page 3 is really page 2. Take a look at number 11. Says Rashi, in the middle of the piece. Says Rashi, about 5 lines down, 6 lines down on the first column. Oimer ani, I say the following. That Yaakov Avinu was headed from Beersheba through Yerushalayim to Beis. Oimer ani shenekar har HaMoriah ubal lekan. Har HaMoriah, Yerushalayim, was uprooted and it moved to the north to Beis. V'zuhi kvitzas haaretz ho'amura b'shchitas chulen. This is the jumping of the land that's mentioned in Masechta Chulin. Sheba Beis Hamikdash lekrasai, that the Beis Hamikdash came toward Yaakov Avinu ad Beisel, v'zehu vayifka b'makom. So let's just get that clear. Yaakov Avinu is traveling north. He really should have stopped in Yerushalayim to daven. After all, Avraham davened in Yerushalayim at the Makom HaMikdash. Yitzchak davened at the Makom HaMikdash. Why didn't Yaakov stop? You know what the answer is? It didn't occur to him to stop. He forgot to stop. He was traveling. It did not occur to Yaakov Avinu to stop. Asks Rashi. What? Why? I don't know. We don't know why. That's all we know. We know it didn't occur to him. Asks Rashi the following question. V'im toimar. Kisha avar Yaakov al Beis Hamikdash madua lo yikfu sham. if it didn't occur to Yaakov to stop as he's traveling north, why didn't the Ribbon Shalom remind Yaakov Avinu? He should have sent him, a nevuah, Ruach HaKodesh. Yaakov, yeah. This is the Makom HaMikdash. Now, if you hear a voice like that, don't think it's Ribbon Shalom. I'm just, just playing it out. Why didn't the Ribbon Shalom remind Yaakov Avinu? You ready for this? Says Rashi. That's not Hashem's department. Hashem doesn't help people do mitzvahs. Ready for this? There's something called free choice. A person on his own has to be alert and proactive in doing mitzvahs. Hashem doesn't help you do mitzvahs. That's your prerogative. What do you mean? It's not like Hashem would help the person do mitzvahs. He's just reminding him, this is the Makom HaMikdash, and then let Yaakov decide on his own if he wants to stop there. Look in the Sifsei Chachamim. That's infringing on Bechira. Hashem does not tamper with your Bechira. Even to remind you that maybe Epis you want to do a mitzvah, Ribbon Shalom doesn't get involved. So if let's say in the morning, you wake up in the morning, and it doesn't occur to you what the Zman Kriyishma is, don't expect Ribbon Shalom to send you some message, Zman Kriyishma is 9:03, and then you'll say, okay, and then Hashem will say, it's up to you whether you're going to say it on time or not. No. The night before, you better check the time, you better set your alarm, because Hashem's not getting involved. That's your business. Hashem doesn't remind people to do mitzvahs. That's what Rashi says. Says Rashi, if Yaakov Avinu does not pay attention to daven in the place where his forefathers davened, Hashem is going to help him? Look at this. Yaakov passes the Makom HaMikdash, he goes north, he goes all the way to Charan, like the Pasuk says, Vayelech Charana. Ki mata lecharan, when he gets to Charan, Omar. Now, look carefully at the following words. Efshir she'avarti al makom she'espalalu avoisai v'lo hispalalti b'y. Is it possible that I've passed by the place where my forefathers davened and I didn't daven there? The next three words are the whole shiur. Yahev daite lemehadar. He had in mind to go back. And as he's going back down to Beis, the Makom HaMikdash jumps to Yaakov Avinu. This is a Rashi that we learned our entire life. That as soon as Yaakov had in mind to go back, the Beis HaMikdash jumped to Yaakov. If I were to ask you, what did Yaakov have in mind to go back to? So we would all say, of course, he had in mind to go back to Yerushalayim. Right? Yaakov Avinu, he forgot he was passing by Yerushalayim. It didn't occur to him he should have davened in the Makom that his parents davened. And now, as soon as Yaakov remembers and he has in mind to go back to Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim jumps to Yaakov. There's an amazing sefer called Dar Ravi of Moshe Glasner, 4th generation from the Chassam Sofer. He says an amazing explanation, Rashi. Yahiv daite lemehadar does not mean Yaakov had in mind to go back to Yerushalayim. You know what it means? Yaakov Avinu says to himself, I just spent 14 years of uninterrupted Torah study. I've elevated my neshama to such a great extent that when I sleep at night, I see Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. I see the lion. I knew, Yaakov said, I knew the lion was on the Kisei HaKavod. I knew the kruv was on the Kisei HaKavod, the cherub. I knew the nesher was on the Kisei HaKavod. But I didn't know I was so great. V'anoichi lo yadati, says Reb Shamson Miyashrapolya. I didn't know I was on the Kisei HaKavod. Achein, I knew. Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. I knew the Ari Kruv Nesher is on the Kisei HaKavod. Ve'anoichi, but I didn't know Ari Kruv Nesher Yaakov is on the Kisei HaKavod, or Ve'anoichi, I didn't know I was there. So Yaakov Avinu, after learning for 14 years, he reached the level that he's on God's throne. And yet he has the following problem with himself. He's indicting himself. I'm so great. So how is it that I passed by the Makom HaMikdash and my neshama was not sensitive to the holiness of the place, that I should stop and daven there? Says Yaakov Avinu, I just learned Torah 14 years. So I would think that if I'm passing by the holiest place on earth, my neshama would be stirred, and that would automatically stop me, and I would daven there. Says Yaakov, you know what the problem must be? 14 years wasn't enough. Yahiv daite lemehadar. He decided he's going back to the yeshiva Shem. You hear the pshat? Yahiv daite lemehadar doesn't mean Yaakov Avinu had in mind to go back to Yerushalayim. That's not the problem. What Yaakov Avinu was saying, I spent 14 years of uninterrupted Torah study. You would think my neshama would be receptive to the Makam HaMikdash. Says Rav Moshe Glasner, Yahiv daite lemehadar means Yaakov Avinu said, 14 years is not enough. I need to go back to the yeshiva. Back to Limud HaTorah. It's a mind-boggling pshat, an amazing pshat. So what are we learning from here? The tremendous dveikos, the tremendous connection that Yaakov Avinu had to Torah. And we all have to ask ourselves, Masai Yagiu, Masai, Lamaisai, Avoisai, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, right? We all come Wednesday night, we come to a shiur, and we're very proud of ourselves, and we should be. It's an amazing thing. Limud HaTorah Barabim, there's nothing in the world better. But you have to know what the ideal is. Look at Yaakov Avinu. 14 years of uninterrupted Torah study, day and night. And he leaves, he says, you know what, I'm leaving, but I'm bringing my oil with me so I can learn while I'm going. And he says, you know what, learning while I'm going, it's still not good enough, I have to go back into the yeshiva. Masai Yagiyu Masai Lamasai Avoisai. Chafetz Chaim asks, and it's quoted by Rabbi Chanan and the Kaivetz Ha'aros, why is it that we don't find that the Satan ever comes to Yaakov Avinu? He says, Yaakov, let's wrestle. I'm going to take you on. I'm going to fight with you. Do we find anywhere in the Chumash that the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, comes to Avram Avinu and he says, Avram, let's fight. That's it. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to displace your hip socket. Let's go in the ring right now. With the boxing glove. We don't find Satan ever takes on Yaakov Avinu. Yitzchak is untouched. Yitzchak goes to the Akedah. Nobody's interfering with him. The Satan has no problem with him. Yitzchak's davening all day. Satan has no problem. And poor Yaakov Avinu, he leaves his family, and all of a sudden he's by himself in the middle of the night, and the Satan comes to wrestle with Yaakov, and the whole night the Satan's trying to hurt Yaakov. What does the Satan have with Yaakov Avinu? Why Yaakov? Why is he picking on Yaakov? It's not fair. If anything, if I were the Satan, not that I want to be, but let's say, it's steady pay, good benefits, right? If you were the Satan, why wouldn't you start with Yaakov, with Avram Avinu? I mean, once Avram and Yitzchak get the ball started, and they're koiveya, they establish kedusha, by the time Yaakov comes around, it's a lost cause. Nip it in the bud. Start up with Avram Avinu. Says the Chafetz Chaim, quoted by Rabbi Chanan. Avram Avinu represents Midas HaChesed. Avram Avinu, he's running, he's inviting guests, he's bringing them food, Hachnasas Orchim. He's the biggest Baal Chesed in the world. The Satan looks at it, says, I don't like what this man is doing, but I could be soivel, I could swallow it. He doesn't present a danger for me. You could do Chesed from today till tomorrow. The Satan is, he says, this guy's mine. I have this guy. This guy is under control. I'm not worried about this guy. You could daven. Yitzchak Avinu is the semel of tefillah. He sat, Gevura, he sat and he davened all day long. Satan says, I don't like it. I could deal with him. He's mine also. But when it comes to Limud HaTorah, the Satan says, that's the antidote. That's my kryptonite. Barasi Yetzer Hara. Rabbi Shalom says, I created the Yetzer Hara, but there's only one remedy for the Yetzer Hara. As great as Chesed is, as great as Tefillah is, as great as all the mitzvahs in the Torah are, there's only one antidote remedy. There's only one thing that's a dagger in the heart of the Yetzer Hara, and that's Limud HaTorah. And therefore the Satan says, Yaakov Avinu, I can't stand you. You're going down, Yaakov. Either you're going down or I'm going down, but I can't allow you to exist. So the Satan doesn't start up with Abraham. The Satan doesn't start with Yitzchak. But this man who spends 14 years learning day and night, and he's taking his oil with him, and after one night, not in the yeshiva, Yaakov Avinu says, Yahiv daite lemehadar, back to the Beis Medrash. That's somebody the Satan can't stand. Now, Rabbi said this shiur is not for the faint-hearted. Okay? We're going to lay it on. We're going to lay it on tonight. Now, talk about the importance of Limud Torah. It's a very serious thing. It's a very important thing. You have to understand, there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos about Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. Take a look at number 14. It says, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, Pam achas hayisi mahalech baderech. One time I was going on the road. Upaga bi adam echad. And a person met me. And he gave me shalom. And I said, how you doing? And he said, Rebbe, where you come from? And he says, you should know I come from a big city. The city's full of Tamir Chachamim, Yirei Shamayim, Shomrei Torah Mitzvos. He says, Rebbe, you live with us. Move out to our town. Move out to the suburbs. And we'll pay you a big salary. And you live with us. And, we'll give you a big stellar. And we'll make you comfortable. We'll give you all the more money in the world. And Rabbi Yossi ben Kisna says, there is no money in the world that could pull me away from the Makam Torah. Says Reb Chaim Volozhiner, you look very carefully at the language of the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says, one time I was walking on the road. One time. Very unusual expression. What does it mean, one time I was walking on the road? Says Reb Chaim Volozhiner. You know what the Mishnah is teaching me? Mishnah is saying, you could be such a tzaddik. You could be sitting in the Beis Medrash your entire life. You should know the moment you step out, you're in danger of losing everything. One time you step out, look at Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. He says, one time I stepped out, and already they're pulling me away. I could have lost everything. So what do we learn from here? That a Jew has to be attached to the Torah. Yes, a Shiur is wonderful, a Seder is wonderful, but when you leave the Shiur, you have to be thinking, when am I getting back? When am I coming back? Before you take the step out, before you leave the Wednesday night Shiur, you know what you need to think? I'm waiting for next Wednesday night. You can't allow your mind to divert itself from the Torah for a moment. It's not that you sprinkle a little Torah into your life. Yeah, I chap a Shiur Wednesday, I chap a Shiur here. No. You have to be in a state of mind, and this is the ideal, state of mind where your entire life is Torah. You're living for it. You're waiting for it. You're yearning for it. You have a draw. Yaakov Avinu says, look at Yaakov Avinu. He learned 14 years uninterrupted. He steps out. He takes 1 footstep out of the Beis Medrash. And Yaakov Avinu feels about himself, I lost everything already. It's time to go back. Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zechatzak Levrach in the Darash Moshe. You know why the Torah does not say a word that Yaakov Avinu learned for 14 years? Because there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Mishnah says like this. You have a guy, imagine, Rabbi Yoshev. I'll be completely honest with you. You ever have the following question? You have Gedolei Yisrael. If you were to write a biography about Rabbi Yoshev, right? Or Reb Chaim Kanievsky, or the Vilna Gaon, you could write the biography in 2 words, right? What would you say? They learned. From the time Rabbi Yoshev probably became Bar Mitzvah, he opened up the Gemara, and he never closed it. When they, and when his life was over, somebody had to go close the Gemara. Right? If you want to know who is Rabbi Yoshev, Limud Torah. And you read the Chumash, and you think about Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Are they the same picture of Gedolei Yisrael that we imagine today? No, they're very active, they're very busy, going here, going there, this war, that war. I mean, what happened? Well, the concept of Gedolei Yisrael changed. In the Chumash, Avram, you have all these episodes, all these interesting stories, going here, traveling there. And, nowadays, the Gedolei Yisrael, you could sell it 2 words. Rav Moshe finds, right? 2 words. The answer is the exact same thing. You want to know what Avram Avinu was? Yitzchak, Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu, he sat with Yoshev, he sat and he learned. That was his existence. So why doesn't the Torah say that? Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, because the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Im lamada Torah harbe, if you learn a lot of Torah, al tachzik toiv la'atzmacha. You don't make a big deal out of it. Ki lakach noitzarta. That's what a Jew is created for. Does the Torah say Yaakov Avinu ate lunch? No. Obviously he ate lunch, otherwise he's not making it to the... Does the Torah say Yaakov Avinu breathed? Yeah. Do we have psukim? Yaakov breathed, and then the next hour he breathed 70 times, and an hour or 2 he breathed 90 times, and while he was sleeping he only breathed... Of course not. You have to breathe. You can't live if you don't breathe. You can't live if you don't learn. It goes without saying. It's not necessary. Says Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. It's not necessary for the Torah to mention that Yaakov Avinu learned for 14 years. That's what he's created for. It's Kihem Chayenu V'Orech Yameinu. So we see undescribable Devekos to Torah of Yaakov Avinu. He spends 14 years uninterrupted. He doesn't sleep at night. He leaves the Beis Medrash. He's carrying the oil with him. And even then he's thinking, when am I coming back? When am I coming back? Mishnah says, Pirkei Avos, Parak Beis, Pasuk Beis, Yafet Talmud Torah Derech Eretz. Torah is good with Derech Eretz. Now what does that mean? First thing it means, you got to be a mensch. You have to be civilized. You know, when you eat, you take reasonable amounts. You take reasonable portion. You eat like a mensch, like a civilized Adam. But it also means, Derech Eretz means a livelihood. Torah is good with a livelihood. Someone who just learns Torah and doesn't have a way to support himself, it's not going to last, right? You can't just to learn. Where's the money going to come from? Doesn't come through the roof, the window, the chimney. Where's the money? So you have to have a little livelihood. You have to work. That's what the Mishnah says. Does everybody agree to that? So we know no, not everybody agrees to that. It's a famous machlokes in Masechta Brachos, Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, between Rabbi Shmuel and Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shmuel says, "V'yasafta deganecha." The Torah says you got to work for a living. You got to work. You got to work. So what does the pasuk mean then? La yamosh sefer haTorah zeh mipicha. Don't let the Torah be removed from your mouth. Hanheg bahen minhag derech eretz. That means you work and you learn. You know what they say nowadays? What is it called? A learner-earner, right? Learner-earner. You know, what are you looking for? A learner-earner. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, no. You think you're going to work and you're going to be a Talmid Chacham at the same time? Right? It's like people say, yeah, but the rabbi, I want a rabbi who's a rabbi doctor. Right? Rabbi doctor. I don't want just a rabbi. Rabbi doctor PhD, like the Rambam. The Rambam was a doctor. So rabbi, I want a rabbi doctor PhD. People don't know. The Rambam writes that he was not correct in doing that. You know that? The Rambam himself says he shouldn't have done that. Which means, the Rambam said it took away from his Torah. The Shas Shuvas Rivash brings down that the Rambam retracted. And certainly in this generation, if somebody wants to acquire Keser Torah, says Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, to work and to learn, it's not going to work so well. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says like this: if you're doing what Hashem wants, you just learn. Where's the money going to come from? It's going to come. So the question is, so what do we do? Who do we follow? Rabbi Shmuel or Rav Shimon Bar Yochai? So the Gemara tells us what to do. The Gemara says like this: we're not giving halacha l'maisa. We're just saying the following observation. Many people have adopted the practice of Rabbi Shmuel, that they work, and it works out for them. It's a viable path in this world. And then the Gemara says many people have tried Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's path. Didn't work. Doesn't work. There are many people that tried it, and it didn't work. So the Gemara is not saying how we paskin. The Gemara is just saying what works. What works is Rabbi Shmuel. By the way, and I'm not telling you, you ask your local, whoever your manhig is, whoever your Rav and Rebbe is. Tell you what the Brisker Rav says. The Brisker Rav says we paskin like Rabbi Shmuel. The Brisker Rav writes, Chidush agrees, we paskin like everyone should follow their own opinion. In the yeshivas today, I don't think they would say we pat, but that's a separate discussion. I'm just reporting to you what the Gemara says in Brachas, what the Brisker. But that's how the simple meaning of the Gemara, right? Again, I'm not saying my own opinion, I'm just translating the Gemara. The opinion of Rabbi Shmuel is Haneg Bahen Minhag Derech Eretz. You learn and you work. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, says Rav Chaim Volozhiner, that's not what it means. What does it mean? The Gemara in Brachos, later on the same page, says like this. Rava tells his Talmidim, look, I know you have to make a living. So during the months of Nisan and the months of Tishrei, I don't want to see your faces. You work during those 2 months. This way you get all your work out, and the other 10 months of the year, you'll be able to learn with a clear mind. That's what Rava says to his Talmidim. Asked Rav Chaim Volozhiner, you think Rava was telling his Talmidim that 2 months of the year I don't want to see you, and just work, and don't open a sefer? Well, what does Rava mean? I don't want to see you during Nisan and during Tishrei. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, you ready for this? Hanig bohen minig derech eretz means that at the time that you're working, your mind should be thinking about Torah. Hanig bohen minig derech eretz. That act in the Torah with your work. It doesn't just mean you have to be honest in work. Of course you have to be honest in work. It doesn't just mean you have to be civil, you have to be dignified, you have to be well-mannered. Of course. It means while you're working, you know what your mind should be thinking about? Your mind should be thinking about Torah. That is the meaning of what Rabbi Yishmael is saying, Hanig bahen minig derech eretz. For example, the Gemara says Bayaz, right? Bayaz was the Gadol Hadar. So what's he doing threshing in the whole Megillah Rus? What's Bayaz doing? He's busy in the threshing floor. What's he doing in the threshing floor? So the Chassam Sofer says, by the way, in his Chedushim Masechta Sukkah, Chassam Sofer says, what do you mean what's he doing in the threshing floor? Would you have a kasha why Bayaz put on tefillin? Would you have a kasha why Bayaz blew shofar? He's threshing! Mitzvah D'oraisa, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, says the Chassam Sofer. I believe it's on Daf Mem Aleph. So says Rav Chaim Volozhiner. But at the same time that Bayaz is threshing, Vayitav liba, he's learning. Which means, Hanig bahen minig derech eretz means the following. Hanig bahen minig derech eretz means, while you're learning, while you're working, you're listening to a shiur. Could be any, right? It doesn't have to be my shiur. Anybody's shiur. You're thinking and learning. Now, I am not here tonight to tell you that while you're working, your mind should be thinking about, Rabbi Kiva Eger, the Ksais HaChoshen. I'm not saying we're on this madrega, we're on this level. What I'm merely saying is, you have to know what the yardstick is. You have to know what the ideal is. You have to know what we're shooting for. You have to know what you're yearning for, what you're striving for. Look at Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu spends 14 uninterrupted years. He leaves the Beis Medrash with his stick so he could learn while he's walking. And as soon as he feels a diminution in his Kedusha, he says, I got to go back to the Beis Medrash. And the Gemara is saying, even while you're working, your mind should be occupied. Now obviously, if you're working for somebody, and you're thinking about Torah, you're a ganav. If you're not able to produce for your boss, you're a robber. Right? They asked Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, Chanoich was a shoemaker. So Al Pi Kabbalah, every stitch he made, he was thinking about, Gahoibina Machshavas, every stitch he was making yichudim. So he once asked Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, what were the thoughts that Chanoich was having when he was making the shoes? So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said, you know what the thoughts were? I better make the stitch right, otherwise I'm going to be cheating the person who buys the pair of shoes. Those were the holy thoughts that Chanoich was having. So I'm not here today to tell you that we're on the level that while you're working you should be thinking. But you have to understand what attachment to Torah is. What the yardstick is. What the ideal is. Wonderful to learn. But you have to know what Deveikus b'Torah means. What does it mean to cling to the Torah? There's once a guy sitting in an office, and he's leaning back in his leather chair, and the air conditioner was going, and the guy was independently wealthy. He did not have to work. And he's sitting there, he's comfortable. He ate breakfast, he had a big breakfast. He had 3 omelets, he had 4 rolls. The guy needed nothing. And 10 minutes after he finished breakfast, the secretary's passing by. And he says, please, have Rachmanus on me. Have mercy on me. I need peach Snapple. Sir, you have lemon Snapple on your desk. Please, please. He starts crying. merciful person. Please have mercy on me. I can't beg you. Please, please. Don't you remember when your great-grandfather was in Auschwitz and my grandfather saved his life? So get me the peach snapple. You say the guy's a meshugana. It's crazy. He's asking for rachmanis. He's asking for mercy. He just had regular Snapple and he wants peach Snapple. So get up and buy it. The soda machine is 2 inches away. And he's invoking Zchus Avos. The guy's nuts. Every morning we ask Yibban Shalom, Avinu of Harachama, merciful Father, Hamerachem, who has mercy. Rachem Aleinu, have mercy on us. It would sound like we're about to ask Yibban Shalom, please save our lives. And what do we ask for? Oh, Hashem, help me understand Torah. Help me understand Torah. We view it, I understand it, I don't understand it, a little more Torah, a little less Torah. Is it really so critical? I mean, think about it the way we're asking. There is nothing in the entire tefillah that we ask Hashem with the same adrenaline, the same emotion, the same passion as when we ask Hashem to teach us Torah. Rifa'enu, we don't say Avinu av Harachaman. Rifa'enu. And then we say Hashem, in the zchus of our forefathers, please help us understand the Torah. We think learning Torah is like peach Snapple. Yeah, it's good, it's not good, a little bit more, a little bit less. I get the Maramakim, I don't get the Maramakim, I understand the Dvar Torah, I don't understand. I get the Chumash, I don't get the Chumash. But you see from the Torah, from the davening, that learning Torah is not peach Snapple. It's mayim. It's water when you're dying of thirst. Torah is water when you're dying of thirst. In Mishlei it says, David's found to the Shiur, so we'll cover David. It says in Mishlei, Eitz Chaim hi lamach hazikim. The Torah is a tree of life to those who cling to it. It says Reb Chaim Volozhiner, a beautiful mashal. A guy, he falls into the river. He's in a raging river. The river is threatening to pull him under, threatening to drown him. Yeah? It's a powerful river. And he's lifting his head up. He's trying to come out. He's trying to come out. And he sees a tree that's growing from the banks that stretches out to the middle of the river. How's the guy going to grab the tree? It's just a tree. Maybe I'll take my pinky and see if it will attach to the tree. Yeah, maybe I will catch on to it. I won't catch on. What's the difference if I get it? Never mind. I'll go next. I'll get the next Wednesday night. I'll hold on to the tree. How's the guy going to hold on to the tree? With one hand or with two hands? Two hands. How's the guy going to hold on to the tree? With some of his strength or with all of his strength? Says Reb Chaim Volozhiner, the Torah is the tree of life. But you know how you have to hold on to the tree of life? Only l'machazikim ba. You know who it's a tree of life to? It's not a tree of life. Lean back. You relax a little bit. You sip your lemonade. You eat your food. And then maybe you'll get a few words in. L'machazikim ba. It's a tree of life to those who grab onto it with all they got, with everything they got. That's what the Torah is. It's Eitz Chaim hi l'machazikim ba. So we come to Yaakov Avinu. And Yaakov Avinu, he's learning Torah uninterrupted for 14 years. Day and night he doesn't go to sleep. He leaves the Beis Hamedrush, he's holding on to his oil. He steps out and he feels the lack of Kedusha. Yahiv daitei l'mehadar. He's going back to the Beis Hamedrush. Says the Maral, even though Yaakov was in Chutz La'aretz, we view him as if he's in Eretz Yisrael, as if he's in the yeshiva, because his mind and his heart are yearning for the yeshiva. Was Yaakov mesiach das from his learning for even a moment? Was Yaakov, did he allow his mind to forget about the Torah for a moment? Did he allow, I'll think about the next year in a little bit. Now let me just... Yaakov Avinu did not allow the grass to grow under his feet. Yaakov Avinu, his entire life, when he leaves the house of Yitzchak, he did not stop thinking about Torah. Why are there psuchos and stumos in the Parsha? Why are there openings in the Parsha? Says Rav Glatstein in the Or Gedalia. What's the purpose of the open space in the Torah? It's kedei litein revach lemizboinen bein parsha leparsha. We know why are there open spots in the Torah? It gives you a time to pause, gives you a time to take a break, gives you a time to contemplate, to reflect on what was taught. Says of Gedalia Shor, and we're going to say slightly different. What we're going to say is, you know why there are no pauses in Parshas Vayeitzey? Because Yaakov Avinu did not allow the slightest pause from his Torah. Yaakov Avinu was not Mesiach Das from the yeshiva even for a moment. He learns for the 14 years. He takes his oil with him. His entire time he's headed back to the yeshiva. Yahav Daita Lemahadar. There are no open spaces in Parshas Vayeitzey because Yaakov Avinu did not lose focus of Limud HaTorah even for one moment. Now there are people that can't take this. They're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have come tonight. The food was good, but I can't, there's too much pressure. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling very nervous about this. I can't deal with this. So the first thing you have to know is, whenever you learn, the Rebbe Shem doesn't want you to be guilty. The first thing Rebbe Shem wants you to do, he wants you to be happy. The Torah is a Torah's chesed. He wants you to be happy. And if this is too much for you, so you know what you think? It's brought down in the Sefer Sheva Yipol Tzadik. If this is not for you, you think the following. A Jew has a chiyuv to learn a little bit during the day and a little bit at night. And yes, that doesn't absolve him the rest of the time. Doesn't absolve him. But you're not going to say the guy's an avarian. And yes, Rebbe Shem is not mevater. But if you can't think like this, don't. It's not for you. But for us in this room, who have a higher calling in life, who are able to learn what the ideal is, and they are inspired by it, and they want to live up to it, and they want to try to strive for it, and even if they're not holding there, they're welcome to accept it and to try to take it in as much as possible. Right? You have to know the purpose of learning is not the next second all of a sudden you're on that level. You slowly, you integrate it, you digest it, and if anything, this makes you feel happy. Look what the Rebbe Shem thinks of me. The Rebbe Shem thinks that I could be like Yaakov Avinu. If we're required to say Masai Yagiu Masai Lamaisai Avoisai Mitzvah Yaakov, that means we have it within us. Right? You go to a kid. Don't worry, right? You're playing with the kid. Well, okay, don't worry. Forget the little ball. I'll throw you a huge ball. So the kid's a shkoyach. Of course I could catch a huge ball. Give me a challenge. So you give the kid, you throw him a little ball. You see if he could catch it. Makes him feel good. Makes the kid feel good. You believe in him. So God says, I believe in you. I believe you could reach greatness. And that's the lesson of Yaakov Avinu. The lesson of Yaakov Avinu, like the Dor Revi says, Yahiv daitei lemehadar, not even for a moment was Yaakov Mesiach Das, did he allow his mind to think about other inyanim. Yahiv daitei lemehadar, Yaakov never stopped thinking about his commitment to Talmud Torah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.